Hey there, fellows. Recognize this here lovely vehicle? It's a true Japanese samurai. That's what they call a 90s series Mark II. And since the car is Japanese, and a while back they created a style in Japan called ONI-KYAN, which roughly translates to wild camber. Well, we'd actually like to do just that with this one. As in go all out with the camber, to give this car a crazy and spectacularly good look. I'm sure you've all seen the cars I'm referring to with that sort of camber. At some point they picked up that style in the United States, and only after a really long time did it finally make it over to Russia. Anyway guys, why don't we get some wild camber going? The type you'd expect to see on a true Japanese car done in that particular style. Let's do this. How does a Mark II drive on devilish ONI-KYAN camber? Translation and voiceover by BMI Russian. Alright fellas, so check out how wild the camber is now. The wheel is currently placed at an angle of, let's call it 45 degrees. So that's what 45 degrees looks like. We extended the lower suspension link by 18 centimeters. The end piece we had to bend slightly to ensure that the ball joints work properly. We also had to elongate the tie rod, which you simply can't get around, as you might imagine, with the hub having been moved so far out. So yeah, we extended the tie rod. We also had to rework the geometry of the steering knuckle. Otherwise, we simply wouldn't be able to mount a wheel at that angle. Then there's another minor aspect I should mention. So we moved the wheel out, we extended the lower suspension link, we extended the lower suspension arm, which seriously changed the offset, consequently increasing the stress put upon the strut, which causes what? Which causes the spring to compress quite considerably. And so we aren't running any. We extracted the springs and are running a rock-hard suspension. We actually welded on some pipe instead. There was no other way to make this work. We didn't have any adjustable coilovers on hand, unfortunately. So in any case, that pipe is our salvation. Now with that sort of camber, which honestly is pretty wild, where can we even go for a drive? I haven't the faintest idea. Though I have seen such cars driving. Alright, let's do the rear axle. Give it the same treatment. Alright, so here's what we've done in the back. This is a pretty long story. Lots of interesting stuff happening back here. So all 6 links, with 3 of them on either side, so we had to extend every single one of them, make them longer, and reconfigure everything, since there was really no other way to make this work. We had to re-weld them in such a way so that there wasn't any interference. We also had to re-weld the mounting points for the struts, which was also an absolute necessity if we wanted all of this to fit and to work. As for the angle we got back here, it isn't as dramatic as up front, so it's not 45 degrees, more like 30. What's keeping us from further increasing that angle? The axle shaft, of course. The CV joint in that axle shaft just isn't meant to work at such tremendous angles. It simply doesn't go there physically. So when those CV joints are maxed out, this is as much angle as you're going to get. There's no increasing it. We could have brought it up to 45 degrees just like up front, but that would have meant pushing the car around. That's not what we're looking to achieve. We're looking to do at least some driving. Alright, so we've got some wild angles going. On we go. It has landed. It has landed. I can't wait to take this thing out. We doing this? And I'm in. Honestly, Mark II is a pretty low-slung car as it is. But when it's as slammed as this one, it feels as if you're sitting on the ground. Okay then. Let's take this slowly. What's going on? I'm genuinely afraid of driving this thing. We are moving, though. I can feel some impact coming in through the wheel, though. No need to be worried, I guess. All right, here we go. I've never driven in a car with this sort of camber. Well, we are moving. You can even go sideways. Something's rubbing slightly. The steering wheel really wants to go back to center. You let go, and it immediately snaps back. On one hand, that's a good thing. Oh, the car's hopping around. And I've spun out. There we are. The car is spinning. Where are you going? Can we drive somewhere already? I'm just standing there with my wheels spinning. There might be something to it, of course. Alright, we're back on track. I just slightly touched the gas, and the contact patch is very small with this setup. The thing immediately begins to spin. Even when you're feathering the throttle, the car is very tail-happy. There is some resistance. There is plenty of resistance when you're going sideways. But when you're almost at a stop, things become easy. With the wheels at this angle, you release the gas and the car decelerates nicely. The acceleration, though, isn't impressive in the least, due to the fact that we simply don't have enough grip. And we're going sideways. Transition. And I've spun out. This is frightening. I'm afraid I'll break something. If I'm being honest, that's a genuine concern. Come on now. The wheel is rubbing on the bumper. I really feel bad for the car. It makes you want to avoid turning the wheel. Now, what if I were to try accelerating in a straight line? Doesn't really want to drive in reverse. There we are. There we go. That's how we do it. And now let me drive to the other end of our test track and try going in a straight line. Hopefully I don't hit a pile of snow. Wouldn't want that to happen. This is a pretty nice car. And I have no desire to break anything. Alright, let's do this. Well, it is accelerating, and quite confidently so. Nice. Now we brake. It's hesitating. We simply lack the grip. And off we go. Using this type of car for some drifting, that's the way to go. This thing rocks. This car is just so tail happy with the amount of grip it has, which is 0. It also possesses the ability to spin around in place. This is pretty cool. It's actually quite hilarious. But the fun ends just as quickly. Okay, fellas, so we've just been out for a drive, and honestly, I was expecting that it wouldn't even. With these kinds of angles, you'd think it'd fly like a DeLorean. Not so much drive on the ground, on some pavement or ice. This is a pretty wild thing to look at. With those dramatic angles, it'd be cool if the rear wheels were likewise. But again, the axle shafts were getting in the way of that. I like it, the thing goes, it steers, though the grip is definitely lacking. Plus, you can't steer that wide. The steering angles are pretty tiny. Since you're constantly rubbing on plastic, maybe even the wheel is coming into contact with the bumper. So we drove around carefully, it's all good, and the car truly looks spectacular. Also, take a look at these here wheels. Ivan made these specially for his barge, where he flipped the middle part in order to get a deep dish effect going. These came in really handy in our case, with their tremendous offset. These are actually the only wheels you can really get on there. All in all, this worked out quite well. Now we just load the car, return to base, and bring it back to baseline. The thing is that very soon, we'll be giving this Mark II away to one of our viewers. Anyway, fellas, that's all I have for you. Watch us, subscribe, send in your comments and suggestions, give us a big thumbs up. All right, catch you later.